The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
So, Speaker of the Alabama House, Nathaniel Ledbetter, said this. He posted this on X last night. He said, "I switched to the channel as soon as the game hit halftime. The Super Bowl is an American tradition, and it's shameful that the NFL allowed wokeness to hijack our halftime show." So that's Speaker Nathaniel Ledbetter in the Alabama House, echoing what President Donald Trump said about the halftime show with Bad Bunny, which ahead of time we knew was going to be controversial. He had said ahead of time he was going to do it all in Spanish. Now, I didn't see him wearing a dress. There were some saying he was going to wear a dress. I don't remember that in the show unless I missed it or something. He was wearing a white jersey, I guess. Now, I'm not as outraged as everyone else maybe is, but I do want to talk about why people are so upset about it. I do think it's important. And it really has to do, once again, with the cold civil war that our country is in right now. This is sort of just the latest example. And it is frustrating to think about this. So we'll go over that. I'll go over what Trump said in a moment. You are listening to the Yaffee Program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute. Here on Newstalk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. Let me tell you what else is coming up in the show. We'll get to the Alabama bullet points, the top stories from around the state. At the bottom of the hour, we'll speak with Todd Stacy, who is with Alabama Daily News and host of Alabama Public Television's Capitol Journal. A lot to discuss there. Some pretty interesting bills that have passed already in the legislature, some that are in committee, some fights going on as you would expect. So we'll get through all of that. Later on in the show, we'll talk about, the government shutdown potential and will the Senate pass the SAVE Act? What does that look like? Then in the next hour, we'll do the Sunday news shows recap. That's when I recap what happened on those Sunday news talk shows, so you don't have to watch them. And it seems like the theme this week is the Democrats have basically, in the propaganda press, helping them, they have found a new talking point against the SAVE Act, against passing a bill when it comes to voter ID. So they all got the message, and it went out during the Sunday news talk shows. So we'll discuss that. And Walker is here as well, producing once again. Walker, how are you today?
I'm great. It's finally above 30 degrees in the morning.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. So maybe the groundhog was wrong. That is my hope.
I also hope that.
And we have to go Sand Mountain Sam, who is the possum, maybe got it right. That's my... By the way, are you going to do What's Trending later for us?
Yeah, of course.
I'm guessing the Super Bowl probably will come up. I'm guessing the Super Bowl, at least reaction to it's trending, maybe.
Maybe.
Is that? Maybe? Okay. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit more about that. So let me read what Trump said. I'll read his full post here. He said, "The Super Bowl halftime show is absolutely terrible. One of the worst ever. It makes no sense, is an affront to the greatness of America, and doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence." This is Trump on Truth Social. He said, "Nobody understands a word this guy is saying, and the dancing is disgusting, especially for young children that are watching from throughout the USA and all over the world." He said this quote-unquote show is just a quote-unquote slap in the face to our country, which is setting new standards and records every single day, including the best stock market and 401ks in history. He said there is nothing inspirational about this mess of a halftime show, and watch. It will get great reviews from the fake news media because they haven't got a clue of what's going on in the real world. And by the way, the NFL should immediately replace its ridiculous new kickoff rule. Make America great again, President Donald Trump. I do like he just threw in the kickoff rule randomly in there. That's actually pretty funny. So people seem to be really upset about the halftime show, more because he did it all in Spanish. Now, there was a part at the end as well where they were holding up a bunch of flags from different Latin American countries. I do remind people, though, that Puerto Rico is a part of the U.S. So a lot of the halftime show was about Puerto Rico. And you can't say, well, that's un-American, because Puerto Rico is in the United States. I think some people are forgetting about that. But beyond that, I understand why people are upset, because they feel like it's just the latest example of our pop culture not doing what average Americans want to see. The fact is, the average American is not going to understand what he's saying. And because of that, the average American is not going to relate to it. But that seems to be the goal, right? You know, I wasn't as outraged when I watched it because, frankly, it's what I expected. Not just this year, but for the past, 10 years, the shows have not really been that good. They're not trying to appeal to the average American. It's pretty obvious. They're trying to appeal to those who maybe are not going to watch the Super Bowl for any other reason. But the question I have then is why? The NFL has to have known that putting Green Day as the pregame show and then putting this as the halftime show, they have to know it's going to be controversial, right? So the question is why? Why not just pick a halftime show that isn't going to create outrage, that isn't going to create division? There are plenty of musicians out there. There are plenty of artists out there that you could put and they do a concert and you won't get this kind of response. Why does it seem like that they're constantly trying to push some kind of message on us? And usually the message is not pro-America. It just isn't. There's still a large section of this country that wants to celebrate the greatness of America. Yet when it comes to our pop culture, they don't really want to do that. Now, I will say there were some things in the pregame celebrating the 250th anniversary that was good. I thought the national anthem was pretty good. And, you know, when it comes to the dancing, Trump said the dancing was disgusting. I've seen worse during the Super Bowl. I feel like in past years we've seen worse. I don't know why this one was especially, although there were some things that Bad Bunny himself did that I was like, okay, that's uncalled for. And apparently, and I don't know, a lot of the words, the lyrics that he was saying in Spanish is pretty crude, not appropriate. So that's a problem. But luckily, my 2-year-old could not understand it because I couldn't understand it. But why can't they just put up a decent artist? I mean, you put up Reba McEntire, for instance, a famous country singer. Most people on both sides will be totally fine with that. Why do they constantly want to be controversial? Well, I think looking at the big picture, this just shows that you have to understand when it comes to people that work in these industries, whether it's in Hollywood, whether it's in NFL sports, whether it's in the propaganda press, whether it's in academia. And yes, many of our big corporations, you look at those who make these decisions, the middle management types, those in charge of marketing, if you had to do a poll and you had to look at them, they're leftists. In their minds, they feel like it's their responsibility to the country to push this stuff on the rest of the country. They have an agenda to make this stuff mainstream. Unfortunately, a lot of people that work in these type of areas, whatever industry it is, they don't look at it as how do we reach everyday NFL watchers? How do we reach everyday Americans? That's not what they're looking for. It's just a sad reality. This is how you get a Cracker Barrel that wants to completely transform, and then there's a backlash. This is how you get a Target that maybe will create a backlash. This is how you get Bud Light that does stupid things for transgender that creates a backlash. Because in their minds, the middle management types, they're usually from like big cities, maybe New York, LA, which are already pretty liberal. Most of them have college degrees, graduate degrees from so-called elite universities that push a leftist agenda on us. So they take those ideas and they put them into the business and then they push it on the American people. And then they're shocked that there's a backlash because in their minds, it's not controversial to post this stuff. It's not controversial to do something that maybe is anti-Trump or anti-America. What we have seen in the past 60 years in this country is what some scholars have called the march through the institutions. Where leftists in the countries, they first took over academia, then they took over the mainstream media, then they took over Hollywood, and, of course, pop culture when it comes to music. Then they took over sports, and now they have taken over middle management in many of these big corporations, and they have marched through the institutions, and they're going to push a leftist agenda on the rest of the country. It's just the reality. And yes, there has been a pushback in recent years. Yes, that's how you get a President Trump. I mean, people are like, how can you vote for Trump even though he's kind of out there and outlandish sometimes? Well, yeah, but he's a giant middle finger to all of this leftist stuff. He is a rejection of the radical left in this country taking over our culture. That's how you get a Trump. They look at him and they say, well, he's not perfect, but he at least fights. And this Truth Social on the halftime show is the latest example of him fighting. So that's why they still support him. And in order to kind of take some of these institutions back, there's been some progress in recent years, but it's going to take time. You can't expect the left to have taken over these institutions for the past 60 years, and all of a sudden that's going to be reversed in 2 or 3 years. It's going to take a while for some of this stuff to be reversed. But I really think the backlash is, why do I have to watch a halftime show when the majority of the country is watching the Super Bowl, and yet they have to watch a halftime show that really doesn't appeal to them? It doesn't appeal to their values. It literally doesn't appeal to their language. And they think, it wouldn't be that difficult for the NFL to just pick an artist that isn't controversial. There are plenty of artists out there who would love to do a halftime show for the Super Bowl that could appeal to the vast majority of the country and not create more division. Why not just do that? So the average American looks at that, and that's what makes them outraged. So in some sense, I'm just exhausted by it. I'm not one who just gets outraged by everything. In terms of quality of the show itself, I've seen worse in recent years. It wasn't the worst. But I do understand some of the backlash because people just want to believe in America again. They just want to believe that there is a place where we can all kind of go and we don't have to worry about an agenda or something opposite to our values, our understanding, shoved in our faces. So maybe that will change in the future. I have no idea. But the left has marched through these institutions for decades, and it's going to take a while before some of that is reversed. I just have to say. Now, you can tell me what you think. More people are talking about the halftime show than the actual game because, let's be honest, the actual game wasn't that great. The Patriots got creamed, which I always liked, by the way. I hate the Patriots. You could weigh in. 866-494-9866. That is the WVNN Yaffee text line, of course. 866-494-WVNN. It's brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. We'll get to the Alabama bullet points coming up next. You're listening to the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Welcome back to the Yaffee program. If you miss any of the show live, just a reminder, the podcast is always up on the website, WVNN.com, or anywhere you get your podcasts, or you can download the WVNN app as well and check it out there. All right, let's get to those Alabama headlines. Once again, we have the Alabama bullet points.
Alabama bullet points. Today's headlines from around the Yellowhammer State.
Sponsored by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Number 4 today, Senator Tommy Tuberville joined Tom Neely in an op-ed that was posted at YellowhammerNews.com. And it says America needs to make its own medicines again. So this was published last week at Yellowhammer News. Senator Tuberville and Tom Neely, who is the chairman of the Birmingham-based Oxford Pharmaceuticals, they argue that America must urgently restore generic drug manufacturing to reduce dangerous dependence on foreign suppliers, especially those in China and India, which they say provide over 90% of ingredients and finished generics for daily prescriptions. They highlight vulnerabilities exposed during the COVID-19 pandemic, which they're right about. They also talk about ongoing chronic drug shortages and significant safety risks. Now, they cited a 2025 study showing generics from those countries are 54% more likely to cause severe adverse effects and events like hospitalizations. So they're right on this. Number 3 today, State Senator Sam Gavan was on Dale's show last week, and he rejects the recently filed so-called clean lottery bill. He said it's not a serious bill. That's right. State Senator Sam Gavan out of Huntsville dismissed a recently filed clean lottery bill as not a serious bill during an appearance on the Dale Jackson Show. The legislation introduced by State Senator Marika Coleman, who is a Democrat out of Birmingham, proposes a constitutional amendment for voters to decide on establishing a state lottery while also authorizing in-person casino-style gaming and both in-person and online sports betting. Now, Coleman described it as a clean lottery bill because it avoids specifics on fund allocation or gaming operation details, but Gavan criticized this approach, pointing out that it still incorporates broader gaming elements and would improperly allow passage via a simple majority vote instead of the required 60% supermajority for amendments. Number 2, State Senator Barfoot says that Louisiana redistricting case could avoid a court-ordered redistricting effort in Alabama. So State Senator Will Barfoot out of Pike Road appeared on FM Talk 106.5 recently to discuss a recent U.S. District Court order requiring Alabama to redraw State Senate District 25, which is his seat, and 26 for the 2026 elections. This is following a Voting Rights Act lawsuit involving Montgomery and Madison counties. Now, the court-adopted map, notably drawn in part by a high school student, shifts District 25 from strongly Republican to lean Democrat by incorporating more of Montgomery and removing Elmore County portions, while District 26 moves from strongly Democrat to lean Republican by adding more Elmore County elements. But Barfoot says that a lot of this could be reversed if the Supreme Court weighs in a certain way. And number 1 today, Alabama's 2026 primary election is just less than 100 days away. That's right, Alabama's 2026 primary election scheduled for May 19th with a potential runoff on June 16th. It's just 100 days away from yesterday, marking one of the state's most significant political days in years. That's because the primary, as you know, will decide nominees for major offices, including governor, U.S. Senate, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, and various other statewide and congressional positions. This is amid high fundraising totals, key endorsements, including from Trump, who endorsed Barry Moore and John Wall in a couple of those races, and ongoing political controversies. Now, notable highlights include a high-profile gubernatorial rematch between Senator Tuberville and former Senator Doug Jones, even though Tuberville is going to win that pretty handedly. So some of the other races, which I talked about with Will during Dale's show, Barry Moore versus Steve Marshall. You have John Wall versus Secretary of State Wes Allen. Now state auditor, you have Derek Chen versus Andrew Sorrell. And I know for Attorney General, you have a couple of notable people as well. So we'll see how this goes, but less than 100 days away until those primary elections. By the way, it's even less days than that. I mean, just a few days away until Valentine's Day. Guys, what'd you get your wife? What'd you get your girlfriend? What'd you get your loved one? Did you step it up maybe? Get them some nice jewelry? Maybe you're thinking about it. Well, I mean, the clock is ticking, and if you're like, I would like to get something like that, something really nice, but don't know if I can afford it. Well, yeah, if you go to one of those fancy jewelry stores, maybe at the mall or something, you probably can't because it's way overpriced, too expensive. That's why instead, you should go to Larry's Pistol and Pawn in Madison. You know where it is, off Greenbrier Exit 3, off 565, by the Big Rusty Water Tower. It's an 18,000 square foot facility. You go into the store, you look at the right, and you see all those display cases, which they had to add even more because they have so much they want to sell you. So you're going to get a great price, whether it's earrings, maybe a nice necklace, maybe a nice bracelet, maybe a nice ring. Maybe you're wanting to ask the question, you need an engagement ring and you need a really nice diamond. They have that as well. All at Larry's Pistol and Pawn in Madison. You can also go to Huntsville off North Memorial Parkway, another location there. They have financing options. You can put jewelry on layaway, and you can pawn or sell anything of value as well at Larry's Pistol and Pawn. So I want you to go today and save some money and make Valentine's Day that much better. And when you do, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. All right, Todd Stacy will join me next here on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
This isn't your average podcast.
Do you like party?
I do like a huge chug of tequila.
The Howlerhead whiskey bottle chug in front of Dana White. That was the first time we ever went to LA. We somehow got into a Diddy party. What's an Elon Musk house party look like?
My parties generally have a very high production value.
This is Full Send.
I do want to do a lot more pranks. Bunch of different pranks.
Join the party.
Jack Doherty in the house.
Feeling good, man. What are we going to talk about with Will Smith?
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Shout out to Theo Vaughn.
It's been entertaining, dude.
The Full Send podcast.
Grab the boys, grab the beers, let's do it.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM WVNN. We're here on the Yaffee program. I am Alabama's voice of reason, Huntsville's conservative conscience. And don't forget, you can always weigh in. We have our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. It's brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. It's Monday, about 9:35, 9:37 right now. It means we're going to talk with Todd Stacy, who is with Alabama Daily News, which you can read every day at aldailynews.com. Also with Alabama Public Television's Capital Journal. Todd, how are you this Monday morning?
I'm great, Yaffee. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So I understand that there is a new poll out when it comes to some of these Alabama political races, looking at the Senate race, looking at congressional races, the governor's race, everything else. It's my understanding that Attorney General Steve Marshall is still in the lead, despite the fact that, a couple weeks ago now, President Trump decided to endorse Barry Moore, his opponent for the U.S. Senate. Any thoughts about that?
Sure, yeah. We ran this poll last week, and this is from the Alabama poll. Michael Lowry has revived the Alabama poll, and it's, really reliable numbers. And again, statewide poll, 500 likely GOP primary voters with scientific sampling, margin of error plus or minus 4.4%. But Marshall still leads that Senate race. 26% said that they would vote for Marshall if the election was held today. That's 17% said Barry Moore, 8% for Jared Hudson, and then the rest are pretty small numbers. So, yeah, I mean, you can say he's still leading the race despite Trump's endorsement. But I would say this. It's not, Barry Moore getting the Trump endorsement is not just about that event happening itself, right? Like, not everybody is tuned in to that news. Not everybody has gotten that news. And so what Barry Moore's got to do is pump that out via TV, via radio, via mail to make sure people know. And once that happens, I expect the numbers will shift quite a bit. But even for Marshall, it's not a great poll because if you look back at the exact same poll they've done three polls now, going back to August of 2025. And then they did one in December, and they just did one in February. So, back in August of 2025, Marshall was leading at 37%, then to 30% in December, and now 26%. So he's lost 11 points over that time. Now, other candidates have gotten in the race and things like that, and more have gotten undecided. Undecided is the winner here, but it's not a great poll for Steve Marshall because he's heading in the right direction. He's heading in the wrong direction, and we know that once more people find out about the Trump endorsement, when Barry Moore starts putting that on TV and in the mail, it's probably going to help him. His numbers are probably going to go up.
Barry Moore's numbers, you mean?
Correct. Yeah. What did I say?
No, I was just double check. I think that's what you said. So Okay, so yeah, because Steve Marshall, what, 26%? So Barrymore's at 17,
Right. So
right?
he's leading the race right now for sure, and you'd rather be leading than not. I'm just saying, an 11-point slide in 6 months is not great.
Yeah, I mean, it really does seem like the story, though, is the undecideds, which is probably why Trump came in so early to endorse Barrymore, understanding that when you have that many undecideds in a race, a Trump endorsement can make a real difference.
Oh, sure. Now, I wouldn't go as far to say that's why Trump got in the race. I mean, I don't think anybody knows why Trump got in the race. I think that's probably the last person to talk to him or something. I mean, because nobody really expected it. I mean, Marshall has a good relationship with Trump and all that, and so it's pretty surprising to a lot of people. But it's more effective early in the race because you have time to let people know. Like I said, Barry Moore, I think he's up on TV right now with a brand new ad trying to let people know that he is endorsed by Trump. And that's all he's going to need to say between now and Election Day. Now, look, that's not to say that he's going to run away with the race. I think you're going to have lots of ads out there and arguments out there that's going to cut into Barry Moore's arguments and cut into his record and really expose some stuff that'll be, you got to remember, Mo Brooks had Trump's endorsement early in that race back in 2022 and was polling out of this world, and everybody thought he was going to win. And then suddenly that all crumbled. So Trump endorsement doesn't mean everything. You still have to have a solid, campaign. And you're still vulnerable on your record. That showed with Mo Brooks in that Senate race back in 2022, and it could show here. Who knows? Okay, very interesting. Yeah, I guess I was you said it was surprising he got into the race at all. I guess I was more surprised how early. It just seemed like a lot of times when Trump endorses, it's pretty late. Now, I guess an example where it was earlier was Mo Brooks, and then he changed his mind. But it did seem kind of surprising that he came in to endorse Barry Moore even, before the race really heated up, which made me think that, wanted to push it a certain way. But yeah, why, Steve Marshall, you're right, has a pretty good relationship with Trump. What do you think about the way he has campaigned? To me, it seems like he's been doing a pretty good job, but I've heard from others that maybe he needs to step it up a bit. But what do you think? Well, yeah, we're getting to the part in the campaign where you've got to really start getting your message out there. You've got to get up on TV. You've got to get up on radio. You've got to have a good message in the mail. I think Marshall has surrounded himself with a really solid team. I've known many of them throughout the years working campaigns, and so really solid team. I've yet to see any kind of advertising. That's kind of the name of the game. It's not just TV and radio and mail anymore. You've got to go digital. You've got to find voters where they are, which is on their phones. So Marshall's got to do two things. He's got to pump up his name ID. Now that's the blessing that he has. He's got greater name ID than anybody else in the race by a lot. So pump up his name ID, but he's also got to go on the attack. He's got to attack Barry Moore. He has no choice. Otherwise, those numbers are going to keep going in the wrong direction for Marshall. Now, whether he has to do that himself or if there's an outside group that comes and does that, that would obviously be easier. And you've seen that work in the past. But I think I'm confident we'll see here this week and in the coming weeks, this race start to get more mature in terms of their messages and how they're appealing to voters. So what about some of the other races? We have the governor's race. I'm sure Tuberville is way ahead there. But the other races seem pretty close. Attorney General seems pretty close. I mean, what do you think? Well, yeah, the race for governor is you can tell it's not close because they didn't even include it in the poll. Right. There's no plus this is a poll of just Republican primary voters, so there's no point in having Tuberville versus McPheeters or whatnot. But yeah, the attorney general race very close. There's nobody really pulling ahead there. It's just everybody remains undecided. and again, those candidates really haven't started advertising in earnest. So until they really start hitting each other and going up, over the airwaves, not just on the internet. I think that's pretty close. The other race to watch is lieutenant governor. They included some numbers on that in this poll. Wes Allen continues to lead that race. He has 23%. That's, if the election was held today, that's pretty good. Everybody else is in single digits, including John Wall, who, like Moore, got the Trump endorsement. And it's the same kind of thing. Like, John Wall got the Trump endorsement. That's obviously a coveted commodity in Republican politics, but you can't just rely on that alone. It's what you do with it. It's his job now to let people know that he's got that. And so that, that's still so early, so I'm not sure it's translated with voters yet.
Yeah, well, I think that seems to be the message, that the average voter not necessarily paying attention. So once those robocalls go out and you hear Trump's voice maybe endorsing a certain candidate, that can make a difference. I'm speaking with Todd Stacy, who's with Alabama Daily News. Let's move on to what's going on in the legislature. It seems like one of the focuses is crime, right? You have immigration and crime, trying to crack down on crime, which was kind of a focus last session. But what are you looking at this week when it comes to action in the legislature?
Well, if you're talking about the Lake and Riley Act, that was actually a holdover from last year. That was sponsored last year, and it was moving, but it didn't get through the Senate before the filibuster just kind of killed everything. And so they brought it back. I expect it to pass, but that has more to do with allowing law enforcement, local law enforcement, and state and law enforcement to partner with the feds on immigration cases, right? And so many states have done this. The law has passed on the federal side, and so it's just that close coordination. If local and state law enforcement themselves can enforce immigration law and have those agreements with the feds, it can help remove people that are here illegally and have committed crimes. But the big issue we're following this week is utilities. This package of bills was just sponsored late last week that would essentially, they're aiming to address affordability, especially with rising power rates. And so there's this 3-bill package that would overhaul the structure of the Public Service Commission. That's the group that regulates utilities, including the power company, control the proliferation of these data centers that obviously demand a lot of electricity. And it also adds new restrictions on lobbying in public meetings for state utilities. So it's a pretty ambitious package. This is going to be there's no real theme to the legislature this year, but this is going to be probably the biggest thing that they address. This is a bipartisan package, and lawmakers say they want to address affordability, and they think that by passing this slate of bills, they can stop power rates from going up further. We'll see if that works, but they seem pretty serious about it. It's the data centers that really seem to be the problem here. And 10 years ago, if you said, "Hey, our community is getting a data center," everybody was really excited because jobs and investment and all that kind of stuff. But I think it has pretty clearly led to a spike in energy demand, and that means a spike in energy prices. That means your power bill goes up. So, who cares about the data center coming in with all the, bells and whistles if your power bill goes up? And so we've apparently, a lot of them are arguing that we've been too generous with incentives to lure these places here and not made them pay enough of their own share. And so that's part of what this package aims to do. So I'm curious how this goes forward because, some pretty powerful companies are building data centers. Your Apples and Facebooks and Googles. This is big tech, and they've got big money. So I'm curious how they're going to respond to the state, trying to kind of crack down and make them pay more for these data centers.
Yeah, that's interesting because Sounds like there's going to be a competition among states, kind of like what we see with other industries. What kind of benefits can we give them to stay here? And if we start charging them more, they're going to go to another state and all of that. That's just going to be fun. It's going to be fun to understand where that goes. Todd Stacy with Alabama Daily News. Appreciate you coming on the show as always, my friend. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right, Yaffee, be good.
All right, there you go. If you want to react, we have our text line. When we get back, I should update the latest when it comes to Savannah Guthrie's mom, Nancy Guthrie. That story's getting a little crazy. I mean, it was kind of crazy from the beginning, but we'll talk about that and more. You're listening to the Yaffee program. Back in just a moment.
The Yaffee program.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program. News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Glad you've joined the show today. So we still have not gotten really any answers when it comes to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, who was Savannah Guthrie's mom. Most people know who Savannah Guthrie is, one of the hosts of the Today Show. And it seems that there have been more ransom notes that have been sent into local TV stations. I know one previously was sent to TMZ. Apparently they got another one, and that's why Savannah Guthrie and her siblings put out another video. Now, some people are saying this video seems kind of strange in how it sounds. Of course, I've never been through a situation like this. I have no idea how they would react, so I can kind of give them the benefit of the doubt if it sounds kind of strange. But apparently they are saying things that maybe they're supposed to say, mentioned in the ransom note or whatever it is. So go ahead if you can, just to give people some more perspective on this. Go and play the Savannah Guthrie cut I sent you. Walker, this was her with her siblings talking about that they're ready to pay the ransom.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
All right, there you go. Now, according to some of the latest news reports, authorities went back to Nancy Guthrie's home. They were seen even on the roof. They're just kind of looking for more evidence. Apparently, they went to Savannah's sister's home as well. So that became an active crime scene. We don't know why. We don't really know the latest details there. Now, President Trump was also asked about this and asked, what if, because, he's been very involved. The White House has been very involved. The FBI has been very involved in a lot of this. So there have been a lot of questions on whether there are any developments. But President Trump commented this. Go ahead and skip down to cut 2 for me, Walker, and play Trump cut 2.
I'd love to use the filibuster. The SAVE Act is very important.
Whoop,
Voter ID.
Wrong. I'm sorry. I think I told you the wrong cut. Play Trump 3. I'm sorry about that. Trump.
We have some clues, I think, that are very strong. And I think we could have some answers coming up fairly soon.
All right, so he's saying maybe we're going to have some answers. I've seen no evidence of that. I have never seen a case where you're really not hearing a lot. They're keeping things close to the vest. Maybe that's why. Now, according to Fox News here, it says that law enforcement searched Annie Guthrie's home Saturday. So it says law enforcement was conducting a consent search at the home of Annie Guthrie, the daughter of Nancy Guthrie, when they returned to her home on Saturday night. It's according to NBC reported on Monday. Now, Tom Winter, NBC News national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent, reported on Today that investigators were conducting additional searches to check if there was any potential evidence missed during previous searches. Now, Nancy Guthrie disappeared from her home after family dropped her off following a family dinner at the home of her daughter, Annie Guthrie, and Annie's husband on January 31st. It says Winter reported that since authorities have yet to identify a suspect or person of interest, it appeared investigators' focus is to just start at the beginning and see if there's anything here we can drive from it. So that doesn't look good as well. Not really sure. I'm not really sure what to make of this. There's still a part of me that thinks it's probably someone they know pretty well, or maybe even a family member. And it could be that the ransom note is either just a fake Or, unfortunately, the person that knows Nancy and killed her is trying to distract and using a ransom note to do that. I have no idea. So, just a crazy story that has gripped the nation, and I'll try to keep you updated on it as updates come in. Now, in the next hour, we'll get to the Sunday news show's recap. Lots to discuss there, so stay with me on the Yaffee program. Back in a moment.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
Every week on the Stacking Benjamins podcast, we talk personal finance trends.
Not paying attention to the headlines is the strategy proven to work.
One headline, economists fear global recession. Literally the next headline, stocks hit all-time highs, investors optimistic on the future.
They're even doing it to the weather now. 28 million people in the path of this snowstorm. That means 340 million people have got good weather. It's just weather.
Layers, people, layers.
Stacking Benjamins. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
The Yaffee program on WVNN.
So I noticed a new line by some of the Democrats when they went on those Sunday news talk shows and other places, and people in the propaganda press repeating a lot of this. So you know the memo went out, I guess. But now they're saying that the SAVE Act is bad. The SAVE Act is the bill pushed by Republicans that would require a proof of citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. Seems like common sense to have voter ID. Now, last week, we had talked about how Democrats were saying it's racist. It's Jim Crow 2.0. It's literally what Chuck Schumer said, that anytime you want to require voter ID, that's somehow against, I don't know, the Voting Rights Act or whatever it is. But the narrative switched over the weekend. Now, they're saying that Trump wants to nationalize elections because he wants to steal the next election, maybe the midterms or after that. And all of a sudden, I heard all the Democrats saying this. Totally switched. Now, I don't know why anyone would take them seriously on this, because Democrats have wanted to nationalize the election process for years. They literally tried to do it under President Joe Biden. They tried to pass a bill that would basically get rid of voter ID in an attempt to, quote unquote, nationalize elections in this country. So now all of a sudden they're against it. Now all of a sudden, the Democrats, all of a sudden, when it comes either to sanctuary cities or when it comes to the electoral process and voter ID, now they love states' rights. Now all of a sudden they're great. They love their states' rights. So it's fascinating. So we'll talk about that in more. You are listening to the Yaffee program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute. Here on News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. And it is Monday in the 10 o'clock hour, so you know what that means. Time for the Sunday News Show's recap. Recapping what happened on those Sunday news talk shows. I watched it for you because I give you Sundays off. I mean, yesterday was Super Bowl Sunday. You don't want to watch the Sunday news talk shows. You want to watch coverage on the Super Bowl. I get it. So I watched it. I listened to it. I grabbed the audio for you instead. It's my public service to you. I don't accept any taxpayer funding to do it. It's a free service to you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, and yes, I am a voice of reason through it all. So one of the big issues that came up, of course, is the potential for a very partial government shutdown. Department of Homeland Security, their funding runs out the end of this week. I have heard several lawmakers on both sides say that they're expecting a shutdown. They're not going to come to some kind of agreement. Now, this is because Democrats want to completely transform ICE's responsibility, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And they put out this list of 10 demands of what changes they want. And they have to know some of those things are not going to be agreed to by Republicans. Now, as I mentioned last week, some Republicans did as well. Some of the demands are already being met. They want body cameras. Well, they've already implemented that. They want more ICE training for officers, for agents. Well, Republicans have already added that to a bill. So there was some potential compromise there, but this isn't really about compromise or actually doing anything. This is another example of virtue signaling. Democrats can virtue signal on this, and hopefully they can win the midterms. That's what they're thinking. Last year it was about health care. They don't even talk about that anymore. Now it's about ICE. So we got to play some cuts of Hakeem Jeffries, who's the House Minority Leader, the Democrat. He was on CNN State of the Union talking about some of this. Go and play Hakeem Jeffries. Cut one for me, Walker.
Not at this point. We start with a basic premise that taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for everyday Americans, not brutalize or kill American citizens like Renee Nicole Good or Alex Preddy. We know that ICE is completely and totally out of control. They've gone way too far, and the American people want them reined in. Because immigration enforcement should be fair, it should be just, and it should be humane. So dramatic changes are necessary to the manner in which the Department of Homeland Security officers are conducting themselves before any funding bill should move forward.
All right, so the typical demand, that's basically what they've been saying for weeks now. Not a lot has changed there, and I don't think they're going to get their wish. And no, ICE officers are not out of control and being inhumane. That's ridiculous. Go and play Hakeem Jeffries cut 2.
So you say very clearly that this, and it's clear in your proposals, this is about reining in ICE and the CBP. But those agencies, as you well know, are very well funded already through the Big Beautiful Bill Act. That's what the president called it, and it passed last year. So what that means is that a shutdown would really only impact unrelated agencies, FEMA, TSA, FAA. So how does pushing for these changes and potentially not getting there help rein in an immigration crackdown?
Well, our plan is to get there on behalf of the American people. That's why we need to press forward aggressively and ensure that there are legislative changes enacted as part of any DHS spending bill, because that's the way that you change behavior. And these are common sense changes. Things like mandatory body cameras, judicial warrants should absolutely be required before ICE agents can storm private property and rip everyday Americans out of their homes in such a violent fashion. Of course, we need to make sure that there are no masks so that ICE is conducting itself like every other law enforcement agency in the country. That shouldn't be controversial. It shouldn't be controversial that we are demanding that the Fourth Amendment constitutional protections are adhered to as it relates to the way in which ICE is conducting itself. We also need to make sure that state and local officials have the ability to conduct independent investigations so that when ICE or CBP or other officers violate the law, they can be investigated and prosecuted and held accountable for those violations of state and local law, not being able to govern themselves with impunity, which is the case right now.
So I do like he didn't answer the question. He was asked a specific question and then just kind of rants about how ICE is bad again. So typical from him. Okay, go ahead and play Hakeem Jeffries cut 3.
Unfortunately, we haven't heard back from the White House or Mike Johnson or Speaker or Leader Thune in terms of the demands that we've put on the table, common sense demands on behalf of the American people. And so in our view, the ball is in the court right now of the Republicans. Either they're going to agree to dramatically reform the way in which ICE and other immigration enforcement agencies are conducting themselves so that they're behaving like every other law enforcement agency in the country, or they're making the explicit decision to shut down the Coast Guard, shut down FEMA, and shut down TSA, and that would be very unfortunate.
But you're the one shutting it down. I mean, I'm sorry, that's the case. You guys are the ones who are going to shut it down. ICE is already funded. They have already agreed to some of the changes you want. But you're demanding much more than is going to be agreed to, and you're going to defund areas that have nothing to do with ICE in order to make your point. But when you have the propaganda press on your side, this is They think they can get away with it. We'll see. Go on and play Hakeem Jeffries Cup 4.
States are the ones who are empowered to conduct elections, and every state should be allowed to decide the best way to proceed to ensure that there's a free and fair election. Here in New York, there are, in fact, voter identification requirements. The question is that what Republicans are trying to do is to engage in clear and blatant voter suppression. They know that if there's a free and fair election in November, they're going to lose. In fact, Republicans have been losing every single election since Donald Trump was sworn in January of last year, including most recently decisively in Texas, and of course, losing all across the country, up and down the ballot in the November off-year elections in places like New Jersey or Virginia or New York.
All right, so that was him talking about the SAVE Act, saying Republicans just want to suppress the vote. This is always so silly to me, because why is voter ID suppressing the vote? The fact of the matter is, when you don't have voter ID, when you have just tons of mail-in ballots thrown into a system, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for people not to trust the system. And it's kind of an insult to people to say, you have to prove you're a citizen to vote. Oh, that's too hard. That's too hard. You have to do it pretty much for everything. You get a driver's license a lot of times, except in, I guess, the Democrat states. Usually it's to prove you have to have a birth certificate or something. Yet an ID to vote it's too difficult. So we'll get to some of that because I know Adam Schiff had commented on that as well. But I wanted to get back to the potential for a government shutdown. So on Fox News Sunday, Senator Bill Hagerty was on. He's one of Tennessee's U.S. senators. And was talking about this idea of a potential shutdown. Go and play Bill Hagerty cut 1 for me, Walker.
Well, I think it's clear ICE themselves are ready to deal with the body cameras, and there are a number of things we could talk about. But as you mentioned, this isn't a serious negotiation. This is all happening in the media, trying to motivate a radical left base. The main difference between what we're seeing in Minneapolis, Shannon, and the situation that you and Senator Warner were just discussing is a lack of cooperation. Look no further than Memphis, Tennessee. In Memphis, in Tennessee, we actually have cooperation with local authorities. If the local authorities would cooperate in Minneapolis with ICE, they would issue the detainer. The ICE agent would go directly to the jail, pick up the person, and move on. It takes 4 to 8 times more agents to go into the field to go after the same criminal. That's why you have so many people in Minneapolis. That's why this is so chaotic, because the Democrats, the local leadership, Tim Walz, the mayor of Minneapolis, are actively encouraging people to resist. They are not agreeing. They're not cooperating with authorities at the federal level. And the result is utter chaos in Minneapolis. Go to Memphis. Memphis is now becoming one of the safest cities in America because we do have cooperation at the local level, at the state level, and the federal level. We have 16 agencies at the federal level working with Memphis, and Memphis has been dramatically improved in terms of the reduction of crime on the streets and in the neighborhoods.
So I want to get your reaction. We have the Yaffee text line 866-494-9866. Seems like what he said there makes sense to me. I just don't see Democrats really wanting a real negotiation. They just want a virtue signal because they think it helps them in the polls so that they can win the midterms. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can tell me. We have our Yaffee text line 866-494-9866. 866-494-WVNN. One thing when I asked for feedback, I got feedback from a listener because he went to Jay's Appliance Outlet. So a listener actually called me up and just thanked me and raved about the experience he had at Jay's Appliance Outlet. I mean, I tell you every day about them. They have great prices. They have new inventory coming in all the time. They have overstock deals, whether you're looking for a new refrigerator or maybe get a special deal on a new washer and dryer, because they have scratch and dent deals and, like I said, overstock deals, and their prices are always amazing, and the customer service is amazing as well. So I want you to dial pound 250. So dial pound 250 and say the keyword Jay's Appliance Outlet. That's called pound 250. Say Jay's Appliance Outlet. Now, they're located off 72 in Athens, or you can go to the website jaysapplianceal.com. Now, when you buy an appliance from them, they service what they sell. So let's say 5-10 years down the road, you have an issue with that appliance, they can come out and fix it. They want it to work a long time for you. So whether you need your appliance serviced or you just want a new, maybe oven, stove, whatever it might be, go to Jay's Appliance Outlet today. Jay's Appliance Outlet in Athens. Call pound 250, say the keyword Jay's Appliance Outlet. When you go, let them know you heard about it from Yaffee. Back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Welcome back to the Yaffee program. This is Alabama's Smart Talk Radio. Glad you've joined the show today. And if you miss any of it live, the podcast always up at WVNN.com or anywhere podcasts are available, as you know. It's also Monday in the 10 o'clock hour, so let's get to it. Once again, we have the Sunday News Shows recap. Recapping what was talked about, what happened on those Sunday news talk shows. I'm talking CBS Face the Nation, Fox News Sunday, and others. So you don't have to worry about it. I give you Sundays off. You enjoy it. Spend time with your family. Drink some extra coffee. Go to church, whatever you want to do. My public service to you. I recap it the next day. You're welcome. So on ABC this week, Senator Adam Schiff, who I have said for a while, is in a competition with Chuck Schumer to be the slimiest member of the Senate. He used to be a member of the House. He kind of led the impeachment effort of Trump during the first term. But go and play Adam Schiff for me talking about the SAVE Act voter ID legislation being pushed by Republicans. Play the Adam Schiff cut.
What does he mean? What do you think he means when he says nationalize the elections, or specifically that Republicans should take control of the voting?
I think if he intends to try to subvert the elections, he will do everything he can to suppress the vote. And if he loses the vote, and I think the Republicans now expect they'll get a real drubbing in the midterms, he's prepared to try to take some kind of action to overturn the result. And we really shouldn't question that. We saw him try to the point of insurrection to overturn the 2020 election. We see him now taking these extraordinary steps with an election now 5 years ago. He's basically telling us he intends to interfere in this upcoming election. He hasn't brought prices down. There's chaos and killing in American streets by ICE agents. The public has turned against him in every election we've had since his election. The voters have swung wildly against him. And as you know, he said at that prayer breakfast, his ego cannot stand another loss. So we have to prepare for the worst. We have to prepare in every way we can. And frankly, the best preparation we have is not the Congress, because Republican senators, for the most part, are not going to stand up to him. The courts are useful at the lower levels, but at the Supreme Court, they have left him unrestrained. The best protection we have is to mobilize the largest voter turnout in U.S. history, to so overwhelm the vote and get the kind of margins we saw in Texas in that special election, so that there's no way they can cheat.
So he's saying, remember last week they were saying that the SAVE Act was racist and that was the real problem. Now they're saying he wants to nationalize elections so he can cheat. It's kind of interesting when Republicans claim that Democrats want to do something to affect elections to cheat. Oh, no, how dare, that's an attack on democracy. But then they can claim it on the other side. You know, hypocrisy knows no bounds when it comes to politics these days. But when it comes to nationalizing elections, I mean, they literally tried to do that, the Democrat Party under Biden. It was called the For the People Act. And the goal was the opposite, to kind of get rid of some of the requirements to vote so they could just have a lot more votes. I mean, their argument is we should make it as easy to vote as it is to get a fast food fries or something, like, which is stupid. If you want to breed distrust into our voting system, make it too easy to cheat. But this idea that all of a sudden Democrats are against nationalizing the election, no, they're just mad because Trump said it. Now, there is a conservative argument to be made that if you go down this path, maybe you're not setting a good precedent. Now, one person who commented on this was Senator Bill Hagerty on Fox News. Go ahead if you can, Walker, skip down to cut 4 of Bill Hagerty, because he made a comment on this. Play that cut for me.
Why move forward with the SAVE Act if it opens the door to Democrats taking similar action down the road?
I wouldn't say this is an across-the-board nationalization at all. It's one fundamental question, and that is, are you a citizen and can you prove it? Because those are the only people that should be voting, and that can be done on a nationwide basis. The problem is that we have Democrat states that don't want to have, they want to have non-citizens eligible to vote. This does not remove the state's ability to set the terms, the conditions, and the place for elections. All of those terms, this would address the state's ability to regulate, for example, ballot harvesting, the methods that would take place. That if we see the Democrat strategy, they want to have about as loose a possible situation as they can. This is how states vary. If you look at the states where we have significant problems, those are blue states, Democrat-held states, and that's where they wanted to go with their legislation, was to loosen all the requirements. This is one where more than 80% of Americans agree. A person should be a citizen and be able to prove it in order to vote.
Do you agree? Let me know on our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866. We'll talk more about this at the last segment. We got what's trending next. By the way, the text line, the Yaffee text line brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. Go to RegenesisStemCell.com. Make an appointment with them. See how your own body's adult stem cells can help take away any pain. If you deal with joint pain, maybe back pain like I did for years, you don't want to go through some kind of invasive surgery, go to RegenesisStemCell.com, make an appointment. There's really no downtime. You'll be back to work the next day and feel better. Oh, when you go, always, let them know Yaffee sent you.
The Yaffee Program.
Mic Drop, hosted by former Navy SEAL Mike Ridland.
What does it mean to be an American?
To be American is you love your country above all else.
I love this country. I was born here, raised here. I offered my life to serve this country.
And if you don't do your part to preserve what we have here and our culture, it's going to be gone. And we can't let that happen.
Yeah, that's Mic Drop.
Mic Drop. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. You can also listen online, WVNN.com, the WVNN app, or the iHeartRadio app, TuneIn Radio app, or your Amazon Echo, your Google smart devices, Siri. If you have Apple products, you can ask Siri as well. All right, Walker is here, so let's get right to it, and I'm sure the Super Bowl is going to come up. It's time for What's Trending with Walker.
Keeping you up to date with all that's trending in your world.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
You guys know how to post videos to Facebook?
It's What's Trending.
Sponsored by Coleman Furniture Market. Yes, they always have the latest trending in furniture. So go to the store in the heart of Coleman, Alabama. You're going to want to do it sooner rather than later because they got great deals going on right now. Now, if you like their Facebook page, you can see some of the latest. They're always posting pictures of some kind of fancy new sofa that they have. And then you go to the store and you see, oh, wait a minute, I get it for this price? Are you sure? Yes, that's how great the deals are. So it's top furniture brands, quality products, but at the best price you're going to find pretty much anywhere. And they do have special financing options available for you if you qualify. So go to ColemanFurnitureMarket.com as well. They're going to be able to help you out if you're wanting to upgrade that home for 2026 when it comes to living room furniture or dining room furniture, bedroom furniture, office furniture, and more. They have it for you. So I want you to go today, and when you do, let them know you heard about it from Yaffee. All right, Walker, what's number 5 today?
Number 5 is Kroger has an exclusive Cheez-It flavor.
Okay.
It is dip inspired.
Uh-huh. What's the flavor?
French onion.
That's only available at Kroger.
Only at Kroger.
You know, I'm kind of surprised because I could see that being popular. People love French onion flavored stuff. I love me some French onion dip. I don't know about you.
I love French onion dip.
Okay. I probably like it a little bit too much. It doesn't, when my wife ever buys it doesn't last very long.
Yes,
that's
so
the problem. That's the problem. So that's only at Kroger. It's kind of, I would think it would be available at more places, but because I don't go to Kroger very often. So maybe I'll have to try that. Okay. I mean, was there anything else on it?
I just looked at the ingredient list to see what cheeses it was made with, and it's white cheddar and Swiss.
Well, that kind of makes sense. I don't know if you wanted too much of a yellow cheddar with French. Well, maybe you do. I don't know. French onion dip's like good with everything.
It really is.
So I don't know. Maybe that would. See, I like to get the French onion dip. The Lay's one is good, but you can also make it. Do you ever just make it on your own, Walker?
I've never tried that.
So it's very easy, and it's actually really good. You just get French onion soup, the packets, and you get a full thing of sour cream, and you mix it together. That's it.
I figured that might be how it is.
Yeah, that's all you do. You get one of the packets of French onion soup, you mix it in a tub of sour cream, and it's great. But I like to get jalapeno chips, the jalapeno flavor, and dip that in French onion dip. So
like
good.
those kettle cooked ones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So good. All right. What's number 4?
Number 4, Lego Group is spotlighting a life-size 1950s Cadillac Fleetwood at the Canadian International Auto Show.
Okay. I want to look this up. So say it one more time. I want to see a picture.
It's a life-size 1950s Cadillac Fleetwood, fully functional.
Cadillac Fleetwood. Okay. I'm
Is
trying to think of what it. I have like a picture in my head of what it must look like if it's from the 50s.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're into classic cars.
I do think classic cars are cool, but I couldn't really name that many models.
Yeah, I couldn't either. Okay.
It's known as the cool down car.
Why is that? Does it say?
Does not say.
The cool down car.
Yeah. And it was displayed at Formula One in Las Vegas previously.
Is it a convertible? No, I'm looking at it now. Okay, it looks like your typical 1950s car.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the sloped roof, very, sloped look, circular look that was popular then. You think someone's going to come out, like a mobster with a Tommy gun is going to come out and just shoot up the place? I don't know. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like to me. All right, what's number 3?
Number 3 is USA Today has posted the top 5 Super Bowl commercials.
Okay, before we get into what they have as the top 5, was there one that you saw? Well, first, did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did not watch the Super Bowl.
So you didn't see any of the ads at all live?
Well, I've seen a couple of them, especially this number 1.
Okay, my favorite, and I'm sure it's on the list, probably the Jurassic Park one by Xfinity.
Is not on the list.
It's not on the list?
No.
Okay, well that's just a travesty. I don't even like this list anymore. No, it's a good commercial. Now, it was kind of released online ahead of time, so that spoiled it a little bit.
Okay.
But, if you've seen the original Jurassic Park, it goes to the scene where Samuel L. Jackson's character says, I can't get Jurassic Park online. Then the Xfinity guy goes, oh, no, I just have to plug this in. And then everything turns on, and the original characters are just enjoying the park. Like Alan Grant is taking a selfie with the T-Rex behind him behind the fence.
That sounds amazing.
It's a great commercial. I thought for sure that would be and they got the original actors. I think it was mostly makeup, not de-aging, because when you look at it, it doesn't look like they just de-aged them. It looks like they just put them in a lot of makeup, but they still kind of look older. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Since it's not on there, I had to explain it. Go ahead with the top 5 according to USA Today.
Okay. Do you want me to start with number 1 or number 5?
Number 5.
Number 5 is Michelob Ultra.
Which one did it say?
For some reason, it didn't specify with
Is
this
that the one? It must be the one with Kurt Russell and skiing. There was one with Kurt Russell, and he becomes a ski instructor for someone who really can't ski, or I don't know. So it was okay. It was kind of funny. Okay, go on. What's number 4?
Number 4 is Dunkin's Goodwill Dunkin'.
Yeah, that's a good one. So Ben Affleck is in it. He's been in these commercials for a while, and he's with a bunch of 90s sitcom characters. So he's there with Carlton from Fresh Prince, Jaleel White, who played Steve Urkel.
Oh, wow.
And then, what's his name? Ted Danson, right, who played on Cheers, shows up. And some of them you can tell are very de-aged. And then Jennifer Aniston is there about how she broke up with Ben Affleck or style. Like Ben Affleck's character's like, we were on a break, and Jennifer Aniston shows up or something outside. So that's a good one. That's a good one, just because I love 90s and 2000s sitcoms and some 80s ones as well. So I do like that one. All right, what's number 3?
Number 3 is Pepsi's The Choice.
Yeah, I thought maybe that would be number 1 because that's a good one.
I thought it might be too.
So if people don't know, that's the one with the polar bears where it's supposed to be like the Coca-Cola polar bear, and he does a blind taste test and chooses Pepsi. The end is good, though, because it mocks the couple at the concert, that got caught.
Oh, that's great.
And it's 2 polar bears and they're caught with Pepsi. That was really clever. So what's number 2 on this list?
Number 2 is Lay's Last Harvest.
Okay, I don't think it was a funny one. I think that was just like...
Yeah, it says the emotional final lap for a potato farmer.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, he's a potato farmer and he's about to retire and his daughter's going to take over or whatever. Yeah, I remember that. That was a good one. All right, what's number 1?
Number 1 is Budweiser's All-American commercial with Clydesdale and an American Eagle.
Yeah, in the end. Yeah, a lot of people okay, I'm not surprised by that one. A lot of people liked that one because at the end he goes, are you crying?
Yeah,
like,
the sun's in my eyes.
There's something in my eye. Yeah, that's a good one. I can't believe the Jurassic Park one, though, wasn't on there.
And this is Budweiser's 10th time winning the number 1 spot since
that doesn't surprise
1999.
me. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. All right, what is, okay, so now we're at number 2 on our What's Trending list, right?
Yes.
I think. Okay, what's number 2?
Number 2 is there was a Bad Bunny lookalike contest in San Francisco that turned into a street party after drawing in hundreds of fans.
Okay, interesting. I have not seen this. Does he look like it? Did it show what the guy looked like?
Yes. He had a tight curly hair wig on, a red shirt, and the straw fedora looking hat.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm sure it looked fine. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
There were about 30 contestants made with men, women, and one kindergartner in a fedora, white tank top, and bow tie.
All right. I'll have to look that up. What's number 1?
Number 1 is Bon Jovi got more airtime than the New England Patriots offense.
No. So, yeah, the joke is, one, Bon Jovi was on a commercial.
Yes.
I know that. He was on one of the commercials.
State
but
Farm.
he introduced the Patriots.
He did.
At the beginning. Was it Chris Pratt who introduced the Seahawks?
I believe so.
I think it was Chris Pratt. So he introduced, and then apparently he's just wandering around the sidelines, just walking around. Is that what it was? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, the cameras just followed Bon Jovi around. And people are saying
Bon
that
Jovi.
he betrayed New Jersey. He's a redcoat.
Really? Because he likes the Patriots?
Right.
Okay, who are you supposed to like in New Jersey? I guess the Giants or the Jets?
Yeah, he is connected with the Patriots because he was friends with Bill Belichick with the New York Giants. And then once he the coach changed over to the Patriots, Bon Jovi followed him.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that's why. So he was a Giants fan and then changed to a Patriots fan.
Yes.
Okay, I hate him too now. I hate that. That's terrible. All right, what's number 1?
That was number 1.
Oh, that was number 1? Okay, my bad. How dare I think Bon Jovi? How dare I think Bon Jovi was not number 1? How dare I? All right. I appreciate it, Walker. By the way, really quick, we're going to have the last segment of the Sunday News Show's recap next and much more. You're listening to the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
segment today of the Yaffee program. News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. Meant to get to this text message earlier on our Yaffee text line, but I'll read it right now. Person said, the halftime show offended me. Bad Bunny's incessant crotch grabs and the disgustingly sexual dancing, hip thrusts, and body shaking. Yaffee, is this what your kid should see? Would you let Evie see this mainstream entertainment if she was older? So I guess it's just hard for me to get too upset. Now, I didn't like the crotch grabs either, but I mean, Michael Jackson did that all the time. The biggest problem I have is if we're going to be upset at some of that, you might as well get rid of the cheerleaders. So I some of that was a little much. I think the words were apparently worse. I just didn't understand them. But okay, I mean, I understand. It's just, it's sad because I should be more upset. It's just, this is what I expect from our pop culture elites. This is what they're going to keep shoving at us until people stop watching, I guess. I don't know. All right, now let's get to it. We have the third and final segment of the Sunday News Show's recap. Recapping what happened on those Sunday news talk shows. So you don't have to watch them. My public service to you. You're welcome. Talking Fox News Sunday, Meet the Press, and others. And no, I do not accept taxpayer funds to do this like some radio stations tried to do. All right, go ahead if you can. I want to get back to some of these Bill Hagerty cuts. He's a Republican U.S. Senator out of Tennessee. Go ahead and skip down to cut 2 of Bill Hagerty for me, Walker.
I think Democrats are going to have a very hard time shutting the government down just so they can perpetuate the kind of chaos that's going on in Minneapolis. Look, there's a reason why ICE does not want to have their badges and their names on their uniforms. There's a reason why they're masking, because threats have risen 1,300%. Death threats against ICE agents. They're being doxxed. The left has gone completely overboard, and they're threatening the safety and security of our agents so that they cannot do their job. This is something we need to look at very carefully. The request that we should put ICE agents in harm's way is absolutely intolerable. And again, the Democrats need to get serious. If they do shut the government down, it's not going to have an impact, as you said. You discussed this earlier. It's going to impact the Coast Guard. It's going to impact TSA. It's going to impact FEMA in our state. We've had massive ice storms. Let's shut that down. Is that the argument that the Democrats want to make? Friday at midnight, we'll find out. I don't think the American public are going to believe this is the right path to follow.
So there you go. He thinks that despite what some of the polls say, the left has gone too much to the radical left, that the government shutdown, it's not going to be a huge win for Democrats. And even though some of the polls suggest that the last government shutdown was kind of a win for Democrats, it's hard for me to totally believe that because Democrats eventually did cave. Some moderate Democrats came forward and made a deal and caved on that. I don't think they do that unless there was some real pressure, political pressure to do that. Now, Hagerty was also commenting on the latest situation with Iran, because there are still some who believe that Trump's going to do a big strike against Iran. He's already told American citizens at the embassy to leave and everything else. So Hagerty commented on that. And I think he's right. When it comes to Trump's foreign policy approach, I think Trump is on to something, and Hagerty did talk about that here. So go ahead and play cut 3 for me of Hagerty.
We don't even have essentially direct talks with Iran, and we're not talking with the Ayatollah, who actually calls the shots there.
Mm-hmm. So what's different now, and I think we need to pay careful attention to this, Shannon, what's different now is we're not just talking diplomatic talks. You saw Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and importantly, Admiral Brad Cooper in the room, our lead military officer there who runs CENTCOM, importantly in the room with the negotiations in Oman just taking place. What you also see is a significant military movement. So it's not just diplomatic pressure, military pressure is coming to play in a very significant way. The other aspect, which I think fails to be covered enough, is the economic pressure on Iran is significant. The rial is in a tailspin. If you look at what we've done in terms of secondary sanctions, look no further. We were talking about our allies and the importance of having our allies with Senator Warner earlier. We just signed a trade deal with India. India is no longer going to buy Iranian crude. India is going to buy that oil now from Venezuela. This is the type of economic pressure, again, married with military pressure and diplomatic pressure, that actually puts President Trump in a much more serious bargaining position to achieve what he's trying to accomplish.
So I think this is an important point. This is Trump's approach right now. Peace through strength, which was something that was started under Reagan. But when you look at what the Biden administration did or what the Obama administration did, they really thought they could deal with Iran. Well, if we're just really nice to them and we give them some cash, maybe they'll do what we want. We'll just bribe them, you know, and it'll be great. The problem is it didn't really work. When you deal with an authoritarian regime like Iran, you're just enabling their bad behavior at that point. I mean, really. Now, you could say, well, they didn't have nukes. True, but what they did is they used all that extra money to prop up their terrorist proxies, eventually resulting in what happened on October 7th in Israel. They used it to attack American troops in Iraq, really hurt our presence in Iraq and Afghanistan. And they used it to prop up their own military. Now, it wasn't enough because it still doesn't compare to Israel's military or the United States military. But they used all this extra money they got, which started under the deal under Obama, the Iran nuke deal. Biden wanted to go back to that. And it just encouraged more bad behavior. So what actually will bring change? Maybe we need a different approach. Maybe we need to be a little bit tougher on them, and they can kind of understand that. But really, I don't know if this is going to happen in my lifetime, but really what's going to bring real change there is regime change, getting rid of the Ayatollah and the leadership there, which Trump wants to do, but it's obviously pretty tough to accomplish. All right, appreciate you listening to the show. If you missed any of it live, the podcast is up on the website, WVNN.com, or anywhere podcasts are available. I'll be back tomorrow at the same time. See you then.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
It's the biggest game on the planet, and nobody breaks it down like Jim Rome.
Super Bowl run. Who do you think will be the last one standing this year?
Fearless debate and the best callers in sports.
I don't care what you say, defense wins Super Bowl.
That defense absolutely is Super Bowl caliber. The quarterbacking sure as hell wasn't.
He's the Spitfire of sports smack.
A lot to get to, and I'm not sure you're going to like all of it. Honestly, I don't even care if you like all of it or not. I have a job to do.
The Jim Rome Show.
Get up in here.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.